This podcast is a member of the Place to Be Nation family. Visit us at placetobenation.com, the only place to be in your pop culture world.
My countrymen and my friends, I had hoped against hope that some miracle would prevent a devastating war and bring to an end the invasion.
This is the most serious threat World Wrestling Federation has ever known.
The long-term future of sports entertainment could change forever.
A succession of actual wars have shaken the entire world and have threatened to bring on the gigantic conflict, which is today, unhappily, a fact.
No force of nature and no act of God could stop this invasion from happening.
I have said not once but many times that I have seen war and that I hate war.
This is our last chance.
There's no going back. There is no tomorrow. They want to finish us off.
Feel this moment for the rest of your life!
This war is only half over, and it could damn well be lost.
We're laying it all on the line.
Nothing can stop the WCW and ECW.
Austin is going to lead us into invasion.
Lift up your heart. All will come right.
We will kick WCW and ECW's.
No WWF superstar is going to deny us from our destiny.
Dad! The sports entertainment!
I have seen war and I hate war.
Place to Be Nation. Welcome back to another episode of Nation Invasion. I'm the captain of this nation ship, James Gruenberg. But alas, I am not alone. I always have with me a co-captain or a guest. He is one fourth of the YouTube roulette crew that records on the Place to Be Nation wrestling feed as well. That is Mr. Scott Shifflett. Scott, how are you doing tonight?
Gruney, I'm glad to be here tonight. I'm doing great. I listened to your first two episodes, and you've already hit up two of my other members with Logan and Souza. I'm glad to be the third one here, and that just means you have to have Jake on for the next one.
Yep, yeah, I do, yeah. Actually, Jake was actually my first guest as well, the first one. Yep, yeah. So, yeah, I'm just going through the line of the YouTube roulette guys. You
really are.
Hopefully getting to Sean Kidd real soon. Hopefully that happens.
He doesn't even show up to YouTube roulette, Gruney, so good luck.
I guess Highway of the Impact Zone's out of the question, too.
Yep.
So Scott, as always, I always ask people, when you hear of the WCW, ECW invasion, mostly on the WCW side, what brings your memories to this invasion? Were you watching it live, or did you have to check it on repeat?
Well, Gruney, so I grew up watching, NWA, WCW, and remember the magazines and like food lines and stuff, and there'd be like Shawn Michaels versus Sting and all this stuff, like how they would sell the magazines. I was really happy for the invasion. I mean, I was sad that WCW got bought, but I was like, the invasion should be like the best angle ever. And as we saw, it's not the case. But I was watching on and off during this time. I started watching when WCW actually showed up, not just like the bits and pieces we get here and there now. But I do remember going to wrestling rumor websites and reading the rumors of going on how WCW was going to have their own launch and everything. And I was hoping for the best, and sadly that was not the case.
No, and especially with the high Time Warner contracts as well, you weren't going to get everybody, because it's like, why not just go outside to your mailbox instead of getting on a plane to travel to wherever Monday Night Raw is, right?
Yeah, it's just they should have just paid the money, because the money would have paid more than paid for itself.
Yep. Yeah. So we're on our way to King of the Ring 2001. This is the go home edition of Monday Night Raw and Thursday Night SmackDown. Last week, when I was with Susan covering, we got the Chris Benoit Kurt Angle cage match, and that was a very crazy match as well. We both gave it 4 stars to 4.25 stars, and it was a really great main event. But we now know that the main event of King of the Ring is going to be Stone Cold Steve Austin versus Chris Jericho and Chris Benoit for the WWF title. And Scott, I wanted to ask you, because Souza put this in a good perspective, it does seem that Chris Jericho is an afterthought. While he is the WWF Tag Team Champion with Chris Benoit, it does seem that Benoit is getting more of the spotlight than Jericho is here. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And even as we'll go through tonight, it like for this to be a go-home show for the King of the Ring, and instead of putting more focus on Jericho and Benoit, we got it on Spike Dudley. It made not only Jericho come off as not up to snuff, but even Benoit. And it's like, and this wasn't the time where we're paying $10 for Peacock. People were spending $30 to $40 for these pay-per-views. I'm not sure what the price was at the time, but it just felt like they didn't really give a shit about the main event. It was more about the King of the Ring and something else that we'll talk about tonight that started off hot and is going to end poorly, which you'll get to in the next episode.
Yep, yeah, and it's going to be a wild ride here. But let's kick off with Monday Night Raw. This is Raw from June 18th, 2001. We are at the Ice Palace in Tampa, Florida. Spike Dudley and Molly Holly come to the ring. Spike calls out Stone Cold Steve Austin. He demands a WWF title shot. So Spike has guts here, calling out Stone Cold. I would not do that as well, especially this paranoid Stone Cold Steve Austin. He could just attack out of nowhere. So kudos to Spike for signing his own death warrant, huh?
Yeah, I mean, but this is part of my thing. Part of my issue is Spike. It seemed like they were going with Spike and Stone Cold as the main event at King of the Ring instead of this. I was just shocked that they gave Spike this much mic time.
Yeah. So out comes Stone Cold Steve Austin, and Stone Cold just who the hell do you think you are? You do not call Stone Cold out and demand a title shot. Spike does the old, if you want to see Spike Dudley versus Stone Cold for the WWF title, give me a hell yeah. Stone Cold says that Spike is too small and doesn't deserve a title shot, nor deserves to be in the same ring with Stone Cold. But he says that Spike has guts, and then he calls Molly a bimbo again, after his petition got ripped up for calling her a gold digger and a bimbo. He does it again. Molly then slaps Stone Cold and then receives a stunner for her trouble. So Stone Cold is on a rampage. She gives Molly a stunner, and then Spike is just like, how could you do that? So and then they play they're really hitting off Stone Cold's music, yeah, I'm a badass. I just gave a stunner to Molly. So Molly gets a stunner.
Yeah, and I enjoyed that. Stone Cold called her a bimbo, and she smacked the shit out of him, Gruney. And then he's like, well, Austin goes, you both earned my respect, and he extends a hand on Spike, and Spike shakes it. Then Austin just goes and stuns Molly, and Spike's there what just happened? I mean, they're trying to prove that Austin's a heel, but then the other stuff that they do with him, where he's with Vince, we'll get to it.
Yeah. It's a little bit of mishmash here, there's nice Stone Cold, and then there's kick your ass Stone Cold here.
Yeah. So
then backstage, the Dudley Boys, they stare down Austin, but they don't have their brother's back, And then Spike is attending to Molly. The Dudley Boys are mad because the Dudley Boys don't get title shots. Why does Spike Dudley get title shots? And what are you going to do about Stone Cold? And Spike Dudley says, I'm going to do something about it. So Spike is not going down without a fight here. He's still standing up for himself and standing up for his girlfriend.
He really is. And I forgot how quick they turned the Dudleys heel after WrestleMania 17. Gruney. So this was quite something. I thought it happened later on during the summer. I didn't realize it had already happened.
Oh no, yeah, it happened like right as the relationship of Spike and Molly was starting. That was back in early May as well. So they were feuding with the Hollies, and then because Spike seems to be the one getting the Dudley Boys in trouble with everybody, so they're turning their back on their brother. So, and keep in mind also, it's going to get changed, but the main event tonight was supposed to be the WWF Tag Team titles were going to be on the line. It was going to be Chris Benoit and Chris Jericho versus the Dudley Boys, but that's going to get changed as we progress here. So we have a quarter-final match here because keep in mind that we're still in the King of the Ring qualifiers for the pay-per-view. It's Kurt Angle versus Jeff Hardy. A belly-to-belly suplex to Jeff, clothesline off the rail by Jeff, a German suplex to Jeff Hardy. Jeff counters an Angle slam.
Angle killed Jeff Hardy with that German suplex, Gruney. Killed him with that. It was nasty.
Yeah, it looked like he was going to, it looked like he landed so hard in his head. It was like, oh boy, this might be very, very bad here.
Yeah.
Jeff counters an Angle slam, a jawbreaker to Kurt. Kurt misses a moonsault. Jeff lands a swanton bomb, but Kurt gets to the ropes. Kurt counters a whisper in the wind to an ankle lock for the submission. For this match, Scott, I went 2 1/4. I thought it was very, very good, and Jeff Hardy was holding his own against Kurt Angle here, and Kurt gets the win with the ankle lock, so I went 2 1/4. Some very good moves by Jeff Hardy here.
Yeah, I went 2.5. So we're pretty close with each other. I thought it was Angle is just so smooth in the ring at this time, and like I said, he's vicious when he needs to be, but then he's smart because Hardy was going up for a swanton and Angle just rolled out the way, so Jeff had to jump down. It's just the small things with him, and I really enjoyed it.
Yep. So now we go backstage. Stone Cold needs someone to understand him. Deborah tries to be supportive, and she goes, well, Steve, I was a former women's champion in the WWF, and Stone Cold, I feel, had the right to laugh at that statement because I feel that Deborah was the worst WWF women's champion of all time.
Yeah, it was pretty bad, but this is Austin's vicious in the ring, but these backstage statement segments, he's really fun. He's like, I need a confidant, someone that knows me, and Deborah saying that's me, and Austin just laughing her off and walking out of the frame was great.
Yeah, I thought that title line was just the icing on the cake for the laughter. It was like, wait, what? Forgot you were a women's champion, but you were one of the worst. All you did was just walk out with it and have a bikini contest. That's nothing to be proud of. So Commissioner Regal is backstage. It's a cherry. In comes Stone Cold. So Regal says that Spike wanted a WWF title shot. Stone Cold's like, I didn't give him a title shot. So then Regal convinces to change the main event to Stone Cold and the Dudley Boys versus Chris Jericho, Chris Benoit, and Spike Dudley. So the main event has gotten changed, but we know that the tag team titles will be on the line on SmackDown for the Dudley Boys.
Yep. And it just shows they thought they were still booking when they're at war. So,
yeah. And then, he needs to talk to Stone Cold needs to talk to Jerry, even though Regal's like, I'm here for you, Mr. Austin.
And Gruney, Austin goes, I want to confide in. He doesn't call him to Jerry. He calls him Ty Jerry. He's like, I want to confide in you, Ty Jerry. And
obviously, Stone Cold does not know to Jerry's real name.
Yeah.
So Michael Cole is backstage to Taz promoting Tough Enough. Hardcore Holly challenges Taz to a match, and then we go to WWF New York, and Kane is there. A kid is having a tough time with the claw machine, so then Kane comes in and he goes, "Stand back, kid," as he breaks the glass of the claw machine. And this kid he stuffs the kid's hands with prizes. So good on Mayor Glenn Jacobs for giving the kids free toys.
Yeah, that was just cute, and it made you remember that Kane was still there.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of superstars, have been taken off of TV that I haven't seen. I've noticed also that the Acolytes or APA have not been on television in a while, too. They were only in one tag team match. So it doesn't seem like, like they're the headhunters of tag teams because they have not been on TV in like 2 weeks.
Yeah, that's a good point. I'm kind of shocked that they're off. Maybe there was an injury of some sort.
Yeah, it's usually like they always say like it's like Farouk, like always has like nagging injuries, and then like Bradshaw's like, well, what am I supposed to do? So I feel that Bradshaw just like stands by Farouk and it's like, well, we'll be back soon enough. And then we get a recap of the stalker videos of Sarah. I don't know if you've been watching these, Scott, but they're pretty creepy.
Yeah, it was. They did a very good job with like how they were just watching Sarah. It was disturbing to say the least.
Yep, but it was all right. Again, the good the voice of the guy, Undertaker. This is your wife, Sarah. I'm looking at her through the window. And also, Scott, that the stalker will reveal himself tonight as well.
Yep. It's were you watching at this time, James?
I was not. I came late into 2001, like August, so I was a little bit younger and not understanding WWF television. But as soon as like the network hit, I went back and I was like, oh, I get it all now.
Yeah, I was gonna see what you thought. If who you thought it was gonna be, but obviously you already knew what was gonna happen. So
yeah, no, like I mean, who could it have been? So it's like with all the WCW guys that you do have, you needed someone to take the bait that it was going to be a WCW guy. It could have been a WWF guy as well, like maybe it could have been Kurt Angle or Stone Cold. I don't know, but so now we have Hardcore Holly versus Taz. But before that, we do get another stalker video, and it's like the stalker is really like in the tool shed, like just filming the Undertaker and Sarah, like getting a chainsaw, and like for Sarah not to notice that somebody's like filming her is hilarious because like it looks like the guy is just right there, and Sarah has to try really hard not to like pretend to see this person,
Yeah, that was a little corny. Like I wish they would have showed like how like he was hidden well enough, but it looked like if she would have looked up, she would have saw him.
Yeah, I mean maybe that could have been a better idea, like have the stalker run but not get caught by the Undertaker, like actually be seen without like getting caught,
Yeah,
that might have worked. So now we have punches in a drop kick to Taz by Holly, diving leg drop by Holly. Like just clotheslines by Taz, and then really Taz gets the Taz mission on Hardcore Holly. But it looked like Holly was going to reach the ropes and the match was going to continue. But then he doesn't, and he just goes down. For this, I really liked it, but I didn't think we got a lot out of it. I want a star and a quarter. I still think that they are trying to utilize Taz in any way, and Taz still has the tough man look. But I feel like the match was short, and we didn't really see a lot out of Hardcore Holly. So I want a star and a quarter, Scott.
Yeah, I want a star. This just felt like a nothing match. It wanted to just promote Taz because he's the tough enough trainer. He just tapped out Holly, who's doing nothing besides bullying Spike and Molly at this moment.
Yep. So then backstage again we go. Stone Cold's telling Ty Jerry, as he says, Linda is ruining his life and also Vince's life. Stone Cold doesn't deserve to be treated this way at all. So he's really complaining about, that he doesn't deserve this. So he's like being a coward, but also being like an aggressive person. Like, just like, I feel like the whining is a little too much, but I do think it's funny that this badass is like really crying about it.
Yeah, and Ty Jerry then says something in obviously a different language, and Austin says "good point," which I lost it when he did that. And then he asked Tajiri for a solution, and Tajiri gave it to him. He said, "You're a wise man," and just walks out. And I was like, "Now this is like good stuff," but then they try to make him. It's like they were trying to make him two different heels, in my opinion.
Yeah, so I feel like it is just good stuff, but like sometimes you just don't know what they're going to do with Stone Cold.
Yeah, he's all over these two shows, Gurney. He's all over these two shows.
Yep. So now we have Edge and Christian backstage. They're talking about their King of the Ring qualifying matches. One has to go up against the Big Show while the other one has Perry Saturn. So it's Christian who has the Big Show and Edge has Perry Saturn. So Christian's like, well, I have to face the 500-pound giant, and you get Muffin Man Brainy over there, Perry Saturn. And then Kurt Angle comes in, and he's like, guys, listen, you guys can't argue because you're not going to win King of the Ring. I am. So, Kurt Angle is just boasting. He's like pissing off Edge and Christian. So it looks like we're seeing cracks in, Team Wreck, as they say, between Rhino, Edge, Christian, and Kurt Angle here because everyone's vying for the spot here.
Yeah, I actually really enjoyed that part, and you actually see the crack, not only the cracks in Wreck, but we also see the cracks in Edge and Christian, because Edge apologizes for pushing Christian, and Christian doesn't want to apologize back to him, but then Angle comes in and says how it's how he's repeating. And it's painful for them that they're arguing. But, yeah, you can definitely start to see it's not only the cracks of Wreck, but also in Team Edge and Christian.
Uh-huh. So then we have Rhino versus Tajiri in a King of the Ring qualifying match. A quarterfinal match, I should say. Chops to Tajiri. Hurricanrana to Rhino. The crowd really is chanting ECW, so they remember a lot of the ECW matches that these guys have had or their time in ECW. And it's a very good to have these type of matches where they do know each other. And so they know almost every move that is going to be hit. A spine buster by Rhino, an octopus applied to Rhino into a tarantula, a power bomb by Rhino, but Tajiri counters it. Tajiri jumps into a gore. So after Regal tells Tajiri go up onto the top rope, and Regal doesn't Tajiri's why would I go on the rope when I can cover him? That doesn't make any sense. And he jumps, and Rhino just gores him out of the air basically, and so Rhino gets the win. I went 2 stars. I thought it was a very good matchup between both guys here.
Yeah, I like this match a little bit more than you did. I went 2 3/4. I just thought it was hard hitting. It really showed off maybe they had something in Rhino. They could have made him a main player in the Invasion. I know he gets injured later this summer, but Tajiri is a lot of fun too. I loved how he got the tarantula on Rhino, and how he was just killing him with the kicks, and Rhino was able to power bomb him, and then the gore in midair was pretty nice. Yeah, like I said, 2 3/4. It was a fun match.
Yep. So now Regal yells at Tajiri because he thinks that Tajiri embarrassed Regal out there. I brought you in here and you do that, but it's really Regal's fault. Why would you tell him to go up on the top rope when he has him where he wants him basically? So it really just didn't make any sense. But we'll see what happens between those two as well as we get into SmackDown. Undertaker's music hits, but it's not him. Even though he's on the motorcycle, it is the Stalker. And, Paul Heyman is like, JR, you told me that you were on the phone with the Undertaker. You told me he wasn't going to be here. You should be fired for lying to the audience. And JR's like, take a look, big mouth. That's not The Undertaker. Paul should blatantly know that's not The Undertaker. And you just love that back and forth stuff here between Jim Ross and Paul Heyman. It's going to get much better as time rolls on, but this is always good banter between them.
Yeah, it was like their back and forth, their chemistry is nice, and we see it even more on SmackDown.
Yep. So if the lights, like there's a spotlight on the guy, and then the main lights come on, and he pulls off his mask. It is DDP, Diamond Dallas Page, and everyone is in shock. Jim Ross and it's like, Dallas Page, DDP's the stalker. And Paul Heyman's like, what a move. And Jim Ross goes, and maybe his last move. When you saw that it was Diamond Dallas Page, or if you saw it the first time, what did you think of it?
I'd seen it on YouTube years ago, because at this point, when I started, when I would jump back in, that the Alliance was around. But God, the crowd went crazy when he took his mask off, and a DDP chant started ASAP. And he actually says the diamond cutter, you never saw it coming. I love that. And actually, watching this again, you get a little of why he decided to stalk Sarah. He said, when he stalks Sarah, you go after the biggest, baddest dog in the yard, and you make it personal. And he asked Taker to make him famous, and and DDP says he's made Sarah famous, and Paige says he'll be at King of the Ring. So I thought it was nice. We got the groundwork, but it goes off course immediately. Sadly enough.
Yeah, it does. Like you said, Paige says to the Undertaker that if you want to make an impact, you go after the biggest dog. And you make it personal. So DDP did make it personal with The Undertaker by stalking his wife, and says Taker is afraid of him and that DDP wants to be famous. So Undertaker at King of the Ring, make me famous. And he wants to be famous, and we'll see The Undertaker, and he will see The Undertaker at King of the Ring. So I really liked it. And you can actually see some of the audience members when he reveals himself doing the diamond cutter sign. So I think they were all in on DDP. And I've heard from podcasts, I know it's Conrad's podcast, but why would you have DDP stalk The Undertaker's wife if DDP has the hottest woman on the planet that's Kimberly, Granted, they might have been separated at the time, but it's DDP's wife is kind of hotter,
Yeah, but the way they phrased it with this, he was only stalking Sarah to get on Undertaker's skin, it makes it better instead of him wanting to have sex with Sarah, because we know he has Kimberly at home. So this makes it better, but I think they get away from that real quick.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, it was a great point there, Scott. So, and security comes out, but again, he just leaves no biggie. He leaves to the crowd like he did in WCW. So, a good point there that they're still having him leave through the crowd and doing the diamond cutter sign, and people know who Diamond Dallas Page is because they do the diamond cutter sign with him in the crowd.
Yeah, he was the original People's Champ.
Yep. So now we have Edge versus Perry Saturn in the King of the Ring quarterfinals match. Takedown by Perry, punches to Perry, clothesline by Edge, a lot of pin attempts by both guys, a belly-to-belly suplex by Perry. He folds Edge like an accordion in the turnbuckle. Christian gets kicked in the face by Perry Saturn, and then the Impaler by Edge for the win. For this match, I went 1.25 stars here. I feel like it's not Edge's fault. I feel like they don't really know what to do with Perry Saturn. And Perry Saturn's wrestling skills are going down a little bit. He's not his old ECW self here. And they didn't really do a lot with him in this run, like in his like original WWF run when he signs in 2000. Like he always seemed like he was like the last man out when everyone had really high hopes for him. So I kind of want to star in a quarter because I don't feel that like Perry Saturn really had a lot of offense here. What do you think, Scott?
Yeah, I want to star and a half. It just seemed like they were never clicking to me. I will say Terry did look great. And they said that Perry's brains have been scrambled more times than eggs, so they're definitely playing up like, something that wouldn't fly today with like multiple concussions and CTE with all the times he's been hit in the head. I will say like Perry did hit a nice crossbody and Edge rolled through it, which I thought was nice. And then Perry was on offense and hit a suplex and Christian saved him. But yeah, this was a nothing match. I want to star and a half. But it makes me like the crowd was responding to Perry, so they definitely have something there. But everything gets turned upside down in a month anyway. So, well, actually, like 2 weeks. Take that back.
Yeah. Well, it's also like like this Thursday actually. So like it starts. As we'll see in the hardcore matchup here. But now we have Mr. McMahon. He arrives to meet with Stone Cold. And so we're getting down to business. Now we have a European title match with Matt Hardy and Albert. So they are doing better at getting more wrestling in than 5 backstage segments and then a wrestling match. What do you think?
Yeah, definitely. Like there was only like that was just a quick backstage segment, and it was. I will say Hawaiian shirt Vince is I think one of my favorite Vince. Because we usually see him in a shirt, like a suit and a tie and everything, but seeing him in a Hawaiian shirt, it just trips me out. And it was actually Brooklyn Brawler who asked how Vince was, and Vince just asked where Austin was. He's like, I don't have time to answer you, Brooklyn. Or Brawler, whatever the hell he calls her.
Yeah, but he also said that, well, my wife's taking me for a run for my money. How would you think I feel? So we have a European title match now. It's Matt Hardy versus Albert. The X Factor has been feuding with the Hardy Boys a lot here, so it's good to keep these feuds going. Albert goes to work on Matt. Matt takes Albert off his feet. Matt counters a military press, a DDT to Albert. Albert counters a twist of fate. Albert then gets DQ'd for not breaking a chokehold. And then Matt hits a twist of fate on Albert. So then, the match is over because it's like DQ'd. I probably would go like a star and a quarter. I mean, it's just that it doesn't make sense. It's just continuing the story. I thought it was going good up until the DQ because the DQ came out of nowhere. What'd you think, Scott?
Yeah, I went the same, a star and a quarter. We saw it in your last episode with Souza. They're trying to make Albert be like a big giant because he took out Kane and everything. But I will say Hardy reversing the military press into a pin was very nice. But then Albert just starts beating the ever-loving piss out of Matt Hardy. And I was like, wow, they're trying to make him look like a badass, which, we saw how it worked with Lord Tensai. 2 months later, he was the dancing with Tyrus. So it doesn't really work out now, and it doesn't really work out 10 years from now. But very interesting because they had him just single-handedly take out the Hardys, even with the X Factor there.
Yep. So then Matt then gives the twist of fate to Albert. Lita gives X-Pac a hurricanrana, and then Just Incredible gives some double super kick to Jeff Hardy with X-Pac, and then the Baldo bomb to Matt Hardy to finish them off. So X-Factor is demolishing the Hardy Boys and little hits on Lita as well. So Team Extreme is down here as X-Factor is walking away clean up here.
Yeah, and they did bring up that Jeff's ankle was messed up because of what Angle did to him, which I thought was nice, and that's why he went down so quick.
Yeah, so good on X Factor getting one over on the Hardy Boys here. So we'll see if the Hardy Boys can regroup on SmackDown. Now we have Mr. McMahon. He asked Stone Cold if he is feeling okay because Stone Cold seems out of it, and that Stone Cold isn't thinking right. He goes, well, you had the title match against Spike Dudley. What was that all about? And then, Benoit and Jericho got one on you. I need to protect my investment. And Stone Cold said, I'm a fighting champion, Vince. Of course I'm going to fight Spike Dudley. He was nothing to me. So they're not on the same page. And then Stone Cold, in a twist, gives an ultimatum to Mr. McMahon. Either you choose Stone Cold or you're choosing Linda. You can't have us both.
Yeah. And I love the part where they were talking. Vince said the hug didn't feel good. Austin said it felt good, didn't it? And then Austin asked him, what's wrong with the good old-fashioned hug? And Vince is like, what is wrong? Like, he's broken. What the hell's wrong with him? And I love Stone Cold giving the ultimatum. You can't have us both. Like, this backstage stuff is great with him.
Yep. So then we get Spike Dudley. He thanks Chris Benoit and Chris Jericho for saving Molly last week. Benoit says they didn't do it for Spike. They did it because they wanted to get their hands on Stone Cold. And it's all basically like a joke, of Chris Benoit doing like an impression of Stone Cold, which was sort of weird. And Jericho really doesn't say anything. It's all Benoit. So that's why I was thinking, like, man, Jericho's really getting the short end of the stick in this triple threat match here, because it looks like all the focus is on Chris Benoit here.
Yeah, this was horrible acting from Benoit and Jericho here. Like, this is just a bad segment. Just bad.
Yep. Like, I don't know why it had to be in there, but it's not good. Like, it shows that, what are we doing? So Edge and Rhino are discussing King of the Ring, but Christian is mad because he has to face the Big Show. And so, everything is just all about Christian. Christian's just mad because he has to face the Big Show, and this is all happening, blah blah blah. So now we actually do get the Big Show versus Christian, and Kurt Angle is on commentary. He joins Jim Ross and Paul Heyman. Big Show throws Christian around like a rag doll. Edge gets chopped and slapped into the guardrail. And then he tosses Christian back into the ring. A press slam by Big Show. Big Show pie faces Angle, so Kurt distracts the ref. Edge and Christian then do the concerto to Big Show for the win. And again, it's a star and a quarter here, because basically it's just Big Show dominating Christian. He really doesn't get any offense until the end, when all he has to do is just get the concerto, because Kurt Angle has the ref distracted here. So I went a star and a quarter shot.
Yeah, this was a real nothing match. It shows how far Big Show has dropped when he's, I know, people like Christian and everything, and they like him now, and he's like a main eventer or upper mid card in AEW now. But they thought he was going to be the Marty Jannetty of this tag team, and it was just nothing. Like, Big Show was throwing both of them around, and the only thing that helps is Angle's telling Big Show when he gets near him that he can beat him, and then Angle goes and interferes, and they do the concerto, which was awesome. But yeah, star and a half. This was a nothing match.
Yeah, very bad, because it's all Big Show's dominance, and Christian gives no offense. So yeah, we'll see what else happens with Big Show as time rolls on here. But we have our main event now. It is Stone Cold and the Dudley Boys versus Spike, Chris Jericho, and Chris Benoit. Bubba and Jericho start off. Jericho goes to work on Bubba and is flung into the ropes, tagged to Benoit, German suplex to Devon, a hurricanrana by Spike, huge clothesline by Devon. Stone Cold goes into Spike's corner and is punched by Benoit and Jericho. Stone Cold is beating on Spike. Spike rolls up Austin for a 2 count. That was surprisingly. So from here, it does seem that Austin is just beating up like Spike Dudley. You know, the underdog is like being fed to the wolves here.
Yeah, like, you know, this is supposed to be about Austin and Benoit and Jericho, but somehow it's still about Spike Dudley. And it's like, this would be cute if this was like week 1 of the build, not the last week before the go home Raw before King of the Ring. It's like, no one gives a shit at the end of the day about Spike Dudley. I'm sorry, it's the truth.
Like, except for that one segment where he did rip up the petition, I thought was awesome. Like, out of all people, it's Spike Dudley who rips it up, you know? I'm sorry, you got me on that one. I understand your point.
Like, they basically cut the balls off of
Benoit and Jericho.
Like, if you, like, I'm sure if I was a little kid at the time, Gruney, it was 2001, I was 12 years old. So I knew what wrestling was. But if I was like 7 or 8, I would have been like, oh man, Jericho or Benoit's going to do it. But hell, watching it then, if I would have watched it then, I would have known they had no chance. Watching it now, Gruney, me and you have a better chance of time traveling back to 2001 and beating Austin for the title than they did that night.
I'm with you, Marty. If you and Doc can figure out a time traveling device, I'm with you, pal. So then it's a back body dive by it's a back body drop by Bubba to Spike. The was up bomb to Spike. He gets that. Bubba misses that. I call it the butt dive because like he's gonna land on his ass, but he always misses it. And then tag to Benoit, a German suplex to Bubba, shoulder block to Devon into a table. Dudley dog to Bubba by Spike. German suplexes to Austin by Benoit. Benoit misses a diving headbutt. And then Austin counters a Dudley dog and throws Spike into a table. Then Stone Cold gets taken down into a double submission. A Walls of Jericho and a crossface for the submission win. And Earl Hebner, he's like, I got to make sure that Stone Cold is tapping out. You know, like he hesitated, but it looked like Austin was tapping out. But Earl, I think, wanted him to suffer a little bit more. So he's like, are you sure you're tapping out? I don't see it. It looks painful, but I don't know. And then he's like, ow. And then Earl was like, all right, ring the bell, you know. It's not like Earl Hebner got one off on Stone Cold there. But for this match, Scott, I went 3.25 stars. Really good tag team match. You know, especially with the double submission finish, you know, Spike Dudley getting his shots in and that throw by Austin when he throws Spike into the table. So 3.25 for me.
Yeah, I'm a little lower. I went 2.75 on that, but you know, within spitting distance of each other. The Spike trying to Dudley dog on Austin and just being thrown to the table was pretty sweet. And I will say when Benoit was doing German suplexes to Bubba, he drops him right on his head. It was disgusting. Then Jericho had a nice missile dropkick on Bubba as well. I will say I do like the combo of the Walls of Jericho and the crossface. And Austin, Earl not calling it immediately was because like a couple minutes earlier, Austin had shoved down Earl, so Earl just let him like be in pain for a little bit. But you know,
that was so great.
It really was. But them like doing this right now is still like too little, too late for Jericho and Benoit. It should have been like about that the whole time. And you know, JR even says like, well, what's going to happen if they both tap out? Like they're going to have to go against each other. And that's never brought up at all that Jericho and Benoit may have to fight each other. Like it's just like we're just talking about Austin here. And when we get to SmackDown here, they basically tell you the ending in a segment, which when we get to it, Gruney, I'll tell you that's when you know what the ending is to King of the Ring.
Okay. Alrighty. Yeah, I guess so. You know, I think I know which segment you're talking about, and I understand your thoughts about it. So, but overall, did you think that it was a a good Raw, and what do you think of that? It's the 4 best of friends in the semi and finals for King of the Ring. We basically have Team Wreck going against each other, but it's also the fact that it might be Edge and Christian, fighting each other at the end, and splitting up,
Yeah, the Team Wreck blow up at King of the Ring seems to be more like the most pushed thing, and it's a really good storyline, which I enjoy. Like how they did it. They did it a couple years ago for DX when Billy Gunn won, where it was all members of DX. So they're just redoing that, which is fine. But it was. I'm really excited to see where it goes. Like it would have been interesting if it was Edge and Christian. That would have theoretically if you would have had Christian beat Angle, then that would be you'd be making 2 stars that night because then Edge would beat Christian and you would make 2 stars instead of 1. But that's obviously that wasn't the case. But I think that would have been nice.
Yep. And so we got the 4 of them, and then we do have like the main event, Stone Cold giving the ultimatum, and we now know who the stalker is for the Undertaker. It's DDP. So everything is coming together, and let's see. Let's flip it over to SmackDown and let's see what is going on as we're 3 days away from King of the Ring. We're at I think they call it the Waterhouse. I think it's called. I don't know. I thought it was called the Waterhouse.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, they said it once, and I was just like, "What the hell is that?" And then we just kept it moving.
Yeah, but it's like one of those arenas that doesn't exist anymore. I don't even know if the Ice Palace still exists. It probably might, because it was always famous for and in WCW, the Ice Palace was really famous because everyone loved Dean Malenko, who came from Tampa, Florida. So that was always a hot spot for WCW. So we're live in Orlando, Florida. Kurt Angle comes out to the ring, says he is superhero. Says Shane McMahon needs more than his jumps to beat him. Says Shaq left this place to become a champion in LA. So he's talking crap about the Orlando Magic by saying Shaq left because he didn't want to be a loser anymore and he wanted to be a champion. So he left to go win a championship with the Lakers. And they actually won the 2001 NBA Finals this year.
Yeah, I mean, that's when him and Kobe were at their apex. So,
yep. So good heat by Kurt Angle, trying to get good heel heat by saying that you guys suck because you lost Shaq to a winning team.
And also with Angle saying he said I'm super and I'm a hero. Yeah, so that makes then what's the problem? I'm a superhero. Like it was just amazing. He's awesome.
Yeah, he is. So then Kurt says that his 3 friends will lose to him at King of the Ring. Edge and Christian come out. They say they will beat Kurt. Edge says he will beat Rhino. But then, so Kurt Angle goes, well, I don't play with boys. And he goes, no, that's not what I meant. So Kurt Angle is just screwing up his comedic lines that he's trying to say that, that they're not men, they're just little boys, and I like to beat little boys up. It's like, what are you saying, Kurt? He's like, no, that's not what I meant. So he's really dissing all 3 of these competitors,
Yeah, and the thing where he's like, in a world of boys, he's a man who likes beating them, and then when Edge and Christian come out, Christian looks like he's wearing a rug.
That's a good one, man. I had not noticed that, but good on you for having eyes for Christian's wardrobe.
It looks horrible, Gruney, horrible.
So then Edge and Christian, they say they're going to beat Kurt, and then Edge says he's going to beat Rhino. Rhino says he's going to win, and then he gives a gore to Edge, and Angle Slam goes to Christian. So Team Wreck is falling apart here as well. as we're getting closer to the King of the Ring. And we'll see later tonight that there's going to be a tag team match of Edge and Christian versus Rhino and Kurt Angle. So, good opening segment. Get the four guys in there to give their little speeches on how they're going to become King of the Ring.
Yeah, and I like how it was Rhino that, he comes out, he says ENC never needed Angle, says the three of them will make sure Angle doesn't repeat. And after all that, Rhino then gores Edge instead of Angle. So it was a hot opening. And like you said, King of the Ring's about the wreck blow up, and this is the first segment that we see on SmackDown that Thursday.
Yep. Undertaker is in the parking lot waiting for Diamond Dallas Page. Molly Holly is concerned for Spike as he faces the Big Show. Spike then asks Molly not to get involved because of her safety and just stay in the back. And then Molly gives Spike a kiss for good luck. What do you think of this soap opera mushiness, Scott?
We see that Big Show, they don't give a shit about Big Show, obviously. And like I said, when talking about Raw, and I kind of want to see Spike get his ass beat because I've had enough of Spike.
So I guess you're not a fan of the Molly Holly Spike Dudley relationship,
which is funny because when I was watching On and Off, I enjoyed it, but looking back at it now, I'm like, this is terrible. It would have been better.
It's like two goody two shoes of that Spike isn't a greaser, but she's really Sandy from Grease. So it's like two goody goods instead of the badass and the goody good here, like two goody goods, do goers, and really what are we doing here? Lust in WWF.
That's what they think it is.
Yep. So we have a no disqualification match, Big Show versus Spike. Press slam to the outside by the Big Show. Show goes over the guardrail. Big Show misses a splash. And then a low blow and a Dudley Dog to the Big Show. But then the Dudley Boys come out and they give Spike a 3D and the choke slam by the Big Show for the win. For this match, I want to star in 3/4. I like the small guy versus the giant here, and it was a no DQ match. They didn't really utilize a lot, but Spike really did try, and he did land the Dudley Dog until the Dudley Boys came. So I went a star in 3/4.
Yeah, I went 2 stars. I did like how Big Show was just throwing Spike around like he was nothing. The military press over the top rope was awesome. And then Big Show, only way he got stopped was by a kick in the nuts and then the Dudley Dog. And we see the Dudleys are just trying to make Spike's life a living hell by hitting the 3D. And the chokeslam that Big Show hit was pretty sick. Got some serious air on that, so it was nice.
Mm-hmm. Then now we are back in the parking lot. Undertaker is still waiting. He approaches a limo, but it's only Vince McMahon. Taker says to let Diamond Dallas Page in if he decides to show up, and let him in from now on so Undertaker can get his hands on him at King of the Ring. So Vince McMahon says, it's on your hands. I'm going to allow Diamond Dallas Page to come in, but it's on you. If you or Sarah get hurt, it's on you because you wanted Diamond Dallas Page to come in here.
Yeah, Taker says he's going to put DDP in the depths of hell. So it's we might get old school Taker.
Yep. Now we have a 6-man tag. It's Kane and the Hardy Boys versus X Factor, continuing off from Monday Night Raw. And also, it will be Jeff Hardy versus X-Pac on Sunday at the King of the Ring for the light heavyweight title. So they are still trying to keep the light heavyweight title relevant.
Yeah, there's just so many titles, and you're about to see title overload, Gruney, as you continue this pod. When they bring in the WCW titles, I'm shocked they didn't bring in the ECW titles as well.
Oh yeah, but I mean, I'll tell you right now, there wasn't a lot of ECW talent. There was, but they were already in the WWF, and I think that was the problem,
Yep.
that they're already WWF just defecting the ECW, and all you have is, RVD and Tommy Dreamer, who didn't sign with the WWF. I mean, we all know that Rob Van Dam was in '97, but that was just like a talent exchange, basically, and he was back in ECW in no time. So just a whole lot of like mismatches and not a whole lot of ECW talent, except for the guys who were already in the WWF as well.
Yeah, it's just Ugh, I got
Yep. So a hip toss to Justin, a tag to hip toss to Justin Credible, tag to X-Pac, poetry emotion to X-Pac, tag to Albert, clothesline and a flying forearm to Matt. Lita pulls X-Pac into the ring post, a tag to Jeff. Albert pushes Jeff off the turnbuckle. The flying clothesline by Kane to Albert, a chokeslam to X-Pac, and a swanton bomb to X-Pac for the win. For this match, I went 2.5. Really good. I love the Kane. I love the Kane flying clotheslines to Albert. Like it really shows off Kane's offense. Albert wasn't bad in this match as well, so it's really, really good. And I went 2.5 stars on it, Scott.
Yeah, I went 2.25. It was fun. I did like how, like I said, how on Raw they were trying to make Albert look like a monster, and then you see how Kane is a legit monster, and you're like, oh, Albert really doesn't shape up, but they're trying with Albert. I will say that. And I was shocked that it was X-Pac that took the clean pin here with like Kane hitting the chokeslam and Hardy hitting the swanton. Yeah, it was a fun, fast-paced match, and this is we're about to hit a part where Souza had a bunch of segments in a row, and we're about to hit a bunch of segments in a row.
Yeah. Backstage, Mr. McMahon and Stone Cold. Stone Cold asked if Vince had made his decision earlier, either if it was Austin or Linda. And Vince says, no, I didn't think about it yet. Stone Cold gives Vince his hunting bow as a bribe, also gives Vince his hat. And then we go to backstage, and it's Regal. He's arguing to Jerry, who's watching his match with Rhino. As he can clearly see that Regal tells him to go up onto the ropes, but it doesn't make any sense. And then out of nowhere, Taka Michinoku comes in, and Regal gets the idea that Taka wants a fight with Stone Cold Steve Austin for the WWF belt, which I don't even think like Taka was saying. So then Taka Michinoku's looking for a fight, and Regal says, well, why don't you take on to Jerry? So out of nowhere, Taka Michinoku appears. He's like that Pokemon. A wild Taka Michinoku appears.
That's exactly how it was, Gruney. And I will say, like, the Austin segment where with Vince, where he's like, WCW could be coming for you. He's like, I don't care. And Austin's like, ask him about the ultimatum. Vince was still thinking about it, and Austin's still giving him stuff just so like he will be his friend. It's just amazing. He's like, I killed a nice big 8-pointer, and you can tell Vince does not give a shit. And Austin then says that Vince is now a hunter with the camo hat and the bow.
So then we get the tag team match of Kurt Angle and Rhino. Oh, wait, no. We get backstage segment. Sorry, not the match. Kurt and Rhino are talking about their tag match versus Edge and Christian. And then Stone Cold Steve Austin comes back with Deborah, who gives Vince the cookies. And we all know that Deborah's cookies aren't the best. And then Stone Cold says her cookies are terrible because Vince is like, oh, they're really good. And Stone Cold goes, no, they're not. They're terrible, Vince.
Yeah, so I'm going to the Angle and Edge part now, and Angle says Rhino can be runner-up to the King of the Ring, but it's not gold, but it's a cloud silver, and I just lost it with that. And with the cookies, Vince is like, they're delicious, and Austin's like, they usually taste like crap, and he's like, Deborah puts too much sugar in the cookies, and that's why they suck.
Yep, yeah, so just some good comedy. And Deborah's like, oh, you did not talk about my cookies that way. So now we have Edge and Christian versus Rhino and Kurt Angle. I feel like they should have done it where it was like maybe Kurt and Christian versus Edge and Rhino, instead of like having the brothers be on the same side. Maybe they should have done it like separately, but that's just how I looked at it.
Yeah, it would have been, it would have been a nice little change up, but I know why they did it. But this was a really fun match. I'll let you continue.
Yeah, it was a fun match. So Edge and Rhino start off a crossbody and backbreaker by Christian, a spine buster by Rhino. Kurt puts Christian in the ankle lock, but Christian gets the ropes. Rhino misses a dive. Christian accidentally hits Edge, and 2 gores by Rhino. And Kurt gets the win, so he pins him after Rhino does the work. I went 2 1/4 on this. I did like the match, and it was a good way to get these guys ready for King of the Ring.
Yeah, I went 2 1/4 as well. I actually got lost in the match and didn't take that many notes, but I will say that Paul and Cole have good chemistry with it, and I love that Rhino hit gores on Edge and Christian, so it definitely seems like they are the not the favorites, the underdogs going into Sunday.
Now, and then out of nowhere, Shane McMahon comes and he starts hitting Kurt Angle with a kendo stick. Because keep in mind, Scott, we still have the Shane McMahon Kurt Angle street fight, and that's going to be after see how far Kurt Angle goes in the King of the Ring. So will it be a short night for Kurt Angle, or will it be a long night for Kurt Angle? But Shane McMahon is getting his offense in on Kurt Angle going into this street fight here.
Yeah, it's Shane whacked him with that kendo stick, Gruney. Like, it was like, oh, we just don't care about concussions. That's what it was.
I know. It's so bad. It's so bad. And like after 2007 too. Yeah. So Regal gives Perry Saturn a hardcore title match. Says so. Because apparently, he thinks that Test is going to defect to WCW, so he wants to punish Test. And I think Regal has had a on and off feud with Test and just wants to make Test's life a living hell in some ways. So Regal gives Perry Saturn this hardcore title match. Says dogs eat applesauce to save the ozone layer, and then. I don't know what Regal said that Test said, but he goes, well, Test doesn't agree with that. So he gets Perry Saturn riled up, and he's like, well, that's a lie. It's true. Don't know.
Oh, Perry Saturn was awesome here. And he kept saying, you're welcome. And I just loved it.
So Stone Cold comes out. It was an unplanned segment, apparently, as they did not have Stone Cold on the sheet. Stone Cold come out, asks Michael Cole where Taz is. Says Michael Cole has been bad-mouthing him and Mr. McMahon. He says that, Michael Cole, you've been doubting me that I can win in the triple threat match. So, you look at me, you've been sassing me. And that he says for Michael Cole to stand up, and then Stone Cold. But then he also goes, "You've been bad-mouthing Mr. McMahon too, haven't you? Look at me." And Michael Cole is scared shitless. He's like, "Oh God." And then so Stone Cold then slaps Michael Cole around, and then proceeds just to beat up on Michael Cole. Scott, I said somewhere Jim Ross is laughing that it's Michael Cole getting his ass kicked and not him, because JR had that badass whooping in Oklahoma. So I feel like Jim Ross must have been laughing that it's not him this time, and somebody else is finally getting their ass kicked by Stone Cold here.
Yeah, it was he's Stone Cold's straight bullying him, and he's calls him a mealy mouth asshole, which I thought was good. And he said if Cole had a backbone in his body, he'd stand up, and Cole stands up, and he's says, we're talking about my friend Vince, I ought to whoop your ass. And I am. And he beat the ever-loving piss out of Cole, and like they showed him being stretchered off and everything when they came back from break.
Yep. And then, after Jim Ross had to get all of his laughter tears out, he has to go out there. And Paul Heyman goes, "Oh, look, it's my sidekick, good old JR." And Jim Ross like, "How can you condone this, Paul? The man was wrong." He's like, "You're damn right, but I'm not going to badmouth Stone Cold in front of him, Michael Cole had it coming, And so, like, Paul Heyman's like, "I'm just going to fall in line." And so, very good stuff here by Jim Ross and Paul Heyman. And then we get a yeah. Go ahead.
No, I was just saying it was nice. JR sells like how pissed off he is, but he's like doesn't want to get beat by Austin again, and it's sold very well. And Heyman keeps needling him.
Yeah, and he's like, finally, it's Michael Cole's turn to get his ass kicked, not mine. So now we get a Perry Saturn versus Test for the hardcore title in a hardcore title match. Saturn goes after Test, ribs, a huge clothesline by Test. Perry Saturn dives through the rope to Test. Test punches a trash can lid into Perry. Test goes into a trash can. Test throws the trash can into Perry. Test hits Perry with a stop sign and trash can lid shots. A super kick to Test for a 2 count. A drop kick to Test. Test hits a big boot for the win. For this match, Scott, I went 2 3/4. I thought it was a great matchup here, and Perry held up. He was giving Test some good shots as well, and Perry Saturn is also getting beaten down with that stop sign here. So 2 3/4 for the hardcore title match.
Yeah, I went 2 1/4. This was a lot of fun. Perry has gotten like 4 concussions just in this match alone. Like he dove at one point, and Test just killed him with the stop sign. I mean, murdered him with the stop sign. I will say, like, Perry grabbed the mop and then got kicked in the head, and then I'll save it for what we're going to talk about after the match with it. But it's a great Paul Heyman line that I need to share.
Yep. Okay. So then, as Terry is trying to check on Perry, Perry Saturn notices a mop, and he gets the idea that the mop is a real person, apparently, and he shoves off Terry and is carrying this mop out of the ring. So what is the line that you want to share with us, Scott, by Paul Heyman?
Paul says, "If you tie 2 balloons to the mop, he'll look just like Terry."
That is a great Paul Heyman line, and like he's always quirky when he can get his commentary in. I like that one.
Yes. I had to rewind when he said that. I was like, wow, I can't believe they let him get away with that.
So Stone Cold is still looking for Vince after Stone Cold beat up Michael Cole. Vince is nowhere to be found. Stone Cold was like, "Look, Vince, look what I did. Look what I did." But Vince McMahon is nowhere to be found, I stood up for you, Vince. I think that's what Stone Cold was going for, and Vince is nowhere to be found. Undertaker and Sarah come to the ring, ask, "Who in the hell is DDP?" So it's nice that Sarah is finally beside her man, so like DDP is not really like stalking her anymore. DDP asks who the hell DDP is, goes over everything DDP has done, says DDP isn't famous because he sucks, but I feel like the crowd doesn't really agree that DDP sucks because of all the stuff that he's done in WCW. So I don't know why they have to be like, "Oh, he sucks," even though people realize that he doesn't really suck,
It's frustrating how they're already like downplaying WCW as being something as like it's like second rate when it clearly wasn't.
Yep. So then we get Undertaker saying he will give Diamond Dallas Page the worst ass beating of his life. It says he will make DDP famous, and we'll see him at King of the Ring. But before they leave, Diamond Dallas Page is at the Undertaker's house by himself. he's like going through all Sarah's like draws of like bra and panties basically, and then he is going into like the Undertaker's bedroom, like, you know, the master bedroom, you know, and he's like, oh, this is where the magic happens and stuff. But if you look, you can see that DDP's mouth is not moving at all. He looked like one of those like big like cartoon weird dolls that like are like your like toy pictures and stuff, you know. So he looked really, really weird, like the animatronics of some sort of like weird thing, because his face is moving, but his mouth isn't. So all that stuff is really like pre-recorded here.
Yeah, it's so weird that they were how off it was. But I did like the psychological mind games DDP was showing. Like he's like, while you guys are here, I'm at your house, and like going through, like you said, like her dresser drawers, like going through her panties and laying in the bed. That's like the ultimate disrespect. But you know, here we go, like 4 segments in a row once again, where it's, you know, nothing but backstage stuff, which I thought we had gotten away with on Raw, but that's not the case.
No, it's not, and we're still getting backstage segments, but you know, now we get a match here, which I totally forgot this was, because it was so early in the show that you almost forgot they were just going right to the main event here, but they're not. They have Tajiri versus Taka. Springboard elbow by Tajiri, tarantula to Taka, a powerbomb and a kick to the face. I like this. I liked Tajiri's appearance here, but this is a half a star, basically. Like, it's all Tajiri. Taka shows no offense here. What were they thinking? They just need a bathroom break.
This was just to get, as Austin calls him, Tajiri over. He was awesome. Like, you forget how over Tajiri ends up getting this summer. You'll get to it, Gruney, but he is super duper over. And like the, you know, he gets the tarantula, which we had seen before. There's a nice sit down power bomb, and Tajiri then hit the buzzsaw kick that basically took off Taka's head. But yeah, I just went 1 star.
Okay, yeah. You know what? Like, you know how this match would have been good if you had 1997 Taka versus 2001 Tajiri, because in 97 Taka was on fire and Tajiri was like green as grass on those like vintage Monday Night Raws where they were doing the light heavyweight tournament. And now the tables have turned where it's like Taka is pretty much done here when he's still on the main roster, but Tajiri is about to have like the summer of his life on, you know, as the months progress with the light heavyweight division and when we get to the cruiserweight division as well.
Yeah, he's awesome, and like we even see it. We saw it in the first part of Jacob Williams's Ruthlessly Aggressive pod when you see him with Tori Wilson at the start. It was yeah, it's awesome. He's great.
Yeah. So now it is our main event. It is the Dudley Boys versus Chris Benoit and Chris Jericho for the WWF Tag Team titles. Benoit and Bubba start. Hard shots to Benoit. A German suplex and a belly-to-belly by Bubba. An enziguri to Devon. Crossface applied to Devon but broken up by Bubba. The was-up bomb to Benoit. Bubba bomb to Benoit. Devon misses a drop to Jericho. Bulldog to Bubba. And a lion salt. A diving headbutt by Benoit. A 3D to Benoit for a 2 count. Devon goes into a table. Earl Hebner goes down. A crossface to Bubba, but then Stone Cold hits Benoit with the tag team title belt or the WWF belt. And the Dudley Boys win after Bubba just pins Chris Benoit here. So Stone Cold screwed Benoit and Jericho out of the tag team titles. I feel like this might have given the like the feeling of that maybe one of them is going to win the WWF title at King of the Ring. But Stone Cold did screw them out of the tag team title. So it might be on to like bigger and better things for Benoit and Jericho, but they don't have the tag team titles anymore. The Dudleys are new tag team champions. I went 3 stars on it. I liked it.
Yeah, I went 2 3/4. I will say, like, Benoit hitting the Germans are sick. But they hit, like, the Dudleys. I'm still shocked they're still doing the "was up" because the fans loved it. And I even have a note here that, like, I really like the Chris tag team, but not really showing us threats to Austin. And, like, we sort of see that here. I will say Dudleys, has the Dudley show how close they are. It's like they're almost able to, like, they hit the 3D on Benoit, but it's saved by Jericho. And then Austin hits Benoit. Doesn't even do anything with Jericho. He hits Benoit, and the Dudleys win. We needed to get the tag titles off them because, a little bit of spoiler alert for you, Gruney, Benoit's gone after King of the Ring, which I know you're well aware of. So
yeah,
they just had to do it now.
Just imagine what would have happened if Benoit never got hurt,
Yeah, it would have been real interesting how they would have played him with the Alliance, if they would have had him join or, be one of, like, I guess he would have been in Chris Jericho's spot in the Alliance. So,
yeah, I feel, or the WWF on the Invasion side. And then imagine if it was the summer of Benoit, instead of the summer of Kurt Angle, and all that. But, like, who really would have known, So it sucks, but it's, it happened. But we're not done yet, Scott. Just backstage, Stone Cold finally finds Vince, and Vince is furious at him because Michael Cole wants to press charges and sue Vince as well. So, like, not only do I have my wife to worry about, I have to worry about Michael Cole. It's coming out of your paycheck, pal. And Stone Cold's like, I don't care, Vince. I cost him the tag team titles. Everything's fine. And then Vince is like, no, not everything is fine, pal, because you gave me an ultimatum. I'm giving you one. Either you win at King of the Ring or we're through. We're over. And you can see Stone Cold trying to give Vince a hug. And Vince's like, no hugs. No hugs. Win or we're through.
yeah, and this is what I meant, where it's like, well, they just told us the ending. You don't have to spend your money, Gruney. You don't have to plop down the $30 to watch King of the Ring, because when you turn on Raw on Monday, you're going to see that Austin beat Jericho and Benoit. Because, like, with them saying that, it's like, oh, well, 100%, like, Austin's winning. Like, because they're not going to break up him and Vince yet. But, it's interesting to see, like, how Cole's threatening to sue and everything. I did love how he refused to hug him. He said that Austin's on his own.
Yeah. Yep.
But yeah, they definitely already told us how it's going to happen.
Yep. So that's going to wrap up SmackDown. So we're here. It's going to be King of the Ring. We'll see how everybody fans out. Who's going to be the King of the Ring 2001? Who's going to win this street fight between Shane McMahon and Kurt Angle? And, even though he spoiled it already, who's going to be the WWF champion?
They spoiled it themselves, Gruney. They spoiled it themselves.
I know. Yep. But I still think it would have been interesting to see what would have happened if Chris Benoit had won the WWF title and not gotten hurt. Imagine if he won at King of the Ring. It would have been awesome.
Yeah, that's a nice what if. Like, even, like, what if he was around for the whole invasion angle? Same with Triple H.
Yeah, because, like, it's like there's a lot of injuries, and more injuries are going to come through because, like, also Rikishi, like, I mean, it's not a big injury, but Rikishi's on the shelf too. And we don't have The Rock here yet, but Rikishi got his shoulder broken, like, dislocated by Regal at Judgment Day. And now Triple H is torn quadriceps. Now we have Benoit, who's having his nagging injuries that'll play out at King of the Ring here. So that's going to do it for us here on this edition of Raw and SmackDown of the Nation Invasion. But, Scott, before we go, do you have anything that you want to plug?
Yeah, you can catch me here on Place to Be Wrestling Feed with YouTube Roulette, as Gruney talked about earlier. You can also find me on the Pop feed with Traders of the Lost Ark, the comic book podcast that I do with Sean Kidd, Tim Capel, and Andy Atherton. And you can also find me at Listen While You Play, my video game podcast.
Very interesting. I'll have to look into that one. I did not know that was out there, so I'll have to look into it. As for me, you can find me here on the wrestling feed, the Place to Be Nation wrestling feed. I also have another podcast called Extreme Resurrection with Steve Riddle. We cover ECW on Sci-Fi from 2006 to 2010. We're covering, a little bit of the Go Home edition of ECW from up to Backlash 2007, where it's going to be Mr. McMahon, Umaga, and Shane McMahon versus Bobby Lashley in the 1-on-3 handicap match for the ECW title. And we're seeing how CM Punk fans out with the New Breed as he joined the New Breed versus the ECW original. So a lot going on there. And you can also catch me on the latest episode of 90210 No-So, or Beverly Hills 90210 episode, Halloween. Me, JT, and Tim, we broke down the episode Halloween, Season 2, Episode 13 of 90210. We talk about, something tragic almost happened to Kelly, and a little reconciliation between Scott and David on the show. So you can catch that as well. Well, that's going to do it from us here on Nation Invasion. I'm James Gruenberg. That's Scott Shifflett. I'd like to thank Scott for coming on as a guest.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Gruney.
Yep.
This was a lot of fun.
Yep, and we will see you next time as we, the nation, prepare for an invasion.